It is indeed like old time hockey. Eddie Shore, and this is a Thursday night, our weekly Thursday get together with Scott Taylor. I'm at the Nillis Law Firm Studio North. He's at the Nillis Law Firm Studio way down south. So, Scott Taylor, I was I almost said good morning. Good afternoon. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing wonderfully well today. It's good evening here already.
Oh, that's
Being
right.
in the
Yes.
Eastern time zone. Time zones drive me crazy. I've got, when I get back to town on the 24th, I have a meeting with the guy in BC, and he sends the meeting request out and puts down 2:30, and then I got to figure it out that it's 4:30, and time zones just make me crazy. But
First world problems, right?
you know what? Exactly. If that's the only problem you got today, perfect day.
Yeah, Scott's in lovely Orlando, Florida, is absorbing all sorts of good heat, I'm sure. And we take small strides today. The sunset in Fargo, 5:01. So now we're getting a little
That's
more
very good.
daylight, feeling a little more of life as we walk out the door at 4:30 to drive over to the station. But from the Nillis Law Firm Studio, I always want to make sure Scott appreciates this as well. The sponsors that make this possible every week: Nillis Law Firm, the Golf Center, Ralph Engelstead Arena, the Sioux Shop in Ralph Engelstead, and of course online. Dave Noah. Love having Dave Noah being involved, and Jarrell's Hockey World as well as Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. Without that sponsorship, this show doesn't happen each and every week, and we appreciate you joining us each and every week, 5:30. And we always appreciate that Jack Sunday gives me a half hour of his time because he's out the door. He has a very truncated version of his show, so we appreciate Jack sharing that extra half hour. We were talking about moving the show to 6 o'clock, but now with basketball tonight, we have Omaha at UND this evening. So there'll be basketball at 6:30. Make sure to stay tuned for that. And with that schedule, Scott, we're going to stay at 5:30. I think that just makes complete sense, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it's good for everybody to know that that's when we're going to be on, and we
Yep.
don't have to make more changes. And remember when there was talk that we would do some Fridays and some Thursdays and sometime
Yeah.
5:30 and sometime 6. Thursday at 5:30, perfect for
Yep.
everybody. Everybody can remember the Game On Hockey Show is Thursday at 5:30 right
Yep.
here on KFGO.
Absolutely. And now into the hockey conversation. It's been an eventful week, and now we hear rumblings of trades and guys like Jonathan Taves' name coming up. But I also want to focus on this as well. Damar Hamlin, which obviously we've talked about an awful lot about the miraculous recovery from his, as they call it, commodio cordis. Is that how it's pronounced? Anyway,
So.
however it is pronounced,
Pretty close.
it actually had happened to an NHL player in 1998, October of 1998. Chris Pronger blocked a shot with his chest, and apparently this. And I don't remember this happening, Scott. Do you have any recollection of this at all?
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, and Chris, who has become a very active participant in Twitter, has
Yes, very much so.
commented out there. So yeah, I've read a number of things, and I remember in '98 when it took place, and I think I read the headline first. As I recall, I was on the road and I read the headline, and it struck me that that he just had a heart attack based on what the headline was. And it was
Right,
the same with Damar Hamlin. When you first saw it, your first thought was a heart attack.
right.
But it's something much more sinister and much more violent and heart attacks are pretty violent.
Yeah, they
But
are.
this is kind of an external one, something that you don't see happen very often, and happens to young men in the prime of their careers in tremendous physical condition. And that's why I think in both cases, Hamlin and Pronger have recovered as quickly as they have. I don't think anybody believed that Damar Hamlin would be going home by today.
Absolutely. And you know what, Scott, the point also to be made here is just the absolute safety now in the game compared to what it was in the past. I remember, well, this is a personal experience that I had at UND. I blocked a slap shot with my neck against Notre Dame. It was my own stupidity, my own fault. I went down to block a shot, ill-timed, saw the puck coming, turned my head and took it off the neck. I didn't miss a shift. And I think in today's day, I would have been transported to the hospital regardless because it was a very violent hit off the neck. I couldn't talk for 2 days. My teammates appreciated that, but it hurt like heck. It hurt like heck. But the safety in the game today so much better. The defibrillators that they have in more and more facilities, the money that's going into it, and Damar Hamlin has now made it probably a safer world in the hockey world as well, with the defibrillators now being funded and put absolutely everywhere.
Well, I was shocked to go back and read about it because they had talked about how with everything at the game and with the wonderful CPR work that assistant trainer of the Buffalo Bills had done,
Yeah.
um, when CPR training started, and I remember a little bit of it in the 1960s, but we looked into it up north and found out that really it was a guy out of Seattle who started the whole kind of worldwide CPR thing in 1971.
Wow.
So that's only 50 years ago that this learning of CPR. I remember when I was working for the Winnipeg Goldeyes as the TV announcer, and was part of a program with the baseball team where everybody who worked at the team at any level had to take the CPR program in case something happened in their department, at the ballpark, at work, wherever it was. And for me, it was a tremendous couple of days to do this program. But the reality was that it wasn't as old as I thought. I really would have thought that CPR was something that had been taught in the 40s and 50s after the Second World War. Nope, not till 1971 did it become a worldwide, I guess, a demand for people to know.
Right. You know what? It's something we hope we never have to use, but you know what? To be prepared for those circumstances of lives that have been saved. And Damar has put an exclamation mark behind that. Well, we have a hockey show called Game on Hockey. Scott Taylor, Travis Dunn each and every Thursday night. A nice little guest lineup. And how many of you have thought, you know, Eric, did you ever think you're going to be playing hockey in Australia, to have the opportunity to play hockey in Australia?
No, that is one when you previewed that to me, that caught me off guard a little bit. Not a typical area of the globe that you associate with ice hockey.
Exactly right. And Scott has connections. Scott has connections everywhere, of course. We have the newly minted, would that be the right way to say, commissioner of an Australian hockey league joining us here in about 5 or 10 minutes. Explain.
He's not
the commissioner. Okay, gotcha.
He's just been named the head coach and general manager of the Melbourne Ice of the Australian Ice Hockey. Kerry's a Winnipegger, just like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in Windsor Park. He had played in the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League and had been quite a star, and actually got a Winnipeg Jets tryout.
Really?
Didn't last a long time. Got a very, very nice thank you very much from John Ferguson.
Didn't we all?
But gave up the game, went in and got into business, and then got a call from a friend he knew, said, "Kerry, are you still playing? Come on to Germany." And he ended up going to Germany to become basically the Gretzky of Germany. They've retired his jersey over there. He was a superstar in Germany. And then when he got home, he had suffered a terrible concussion while playing there. I've got a picture of it. It's frightening looking, with the blood coming out of just about every orifice. Terry's just hooked up to us. He started stop concussions with the Primos.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, you remember the Primos in the NHL, and Wayne Primo and his brother Keith Primo, and because Keith's career had ended with a concussion. Yeah. And so Kerry's just joined us, and Kerry started Stop Concussions. Stop Concussions ended up taking a ice hockey classic to Australia every year, where he would take NHL, American Hockey League, and college stars down to Australia, the United States versus Canada. And Brett Burns played in this. Brett McLaren played in it. There's a lot of NHL players. Big John Scott played in it for the USA. He was captain of the USA.
Wow. And they were down Michigan Tech player,
in Australia, which he still does. And they were looking to put together a new head coach in Melbourne, and they asked Kerry for his input. And we're going to let Kerry come in pretty soon and tell us how all this came together, because my buddy from Winnipeg is now going to Australia to be a head coach and GM.
You know, and we say he could come in, and if you're on YouTube, you can go to YouTube Live, search Game On with Travis Dunn and Scott Taylor, and watch us on YouTube. You'll see what our faces look like, and what Kerry Goulet, or as they call it, the Goosh. And I remember the Goosh back in the day. I played for the St. Boniface Saints. He was a year 2 younger than me. I remember the offensive skills that I saw in this young guy way back. And we don't want to talk about the years those were, but that was the mid 1970s. Way back. But anyway, yeah, we'll have a great conversation. If you're looking for an opportunity to play hockey in Australia, well, if Kerry's looking for an old, slow defenseman, I'm raising my hand. I might be available. I would love to go to. My daughter did a study abroad for 6 months in Australia, 5 months in Australia. Loved every minute of it. And she went in January, came back in June, I believe it was, and had a wonderful time in Australia. Saw everything. She didn't tell her mom that she went scuba diving with sharks at the Great Barrier Reef, however, until she got back. That was a good thing. But what we're going to do now is this, Scott. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to pitch a little commercial. We'll do a break. And when we come back, we'll introduce Kerry Goulet, the Goosh, and he does a show called the Goosh Live. We'll talk about that as well as he can garner some viewership down here. He's based in Toronto, Ontario at this moment. But the Nilles Law Firm, well, it was established in the early 1900s. The Nilles Law Firm provides legal services in more than 10 areas of practice, including business and corporate law, estate planning, wills and trust, probate, commercial litigation, adoption services, as well as real estate. A division of Nilles Law Firm is Northern Title, which provides complete closing and escrow services, along with title insurance policies for all types of real estate transactions in North Dakota as well as Minnesota. Call Nilles Law Firm at 701-237-5544 or look them up at the World Wide Web at nilleslaw.com. You know, you think I have that memorized after all the times I've said this, Scott, but we do appreciate Nilles Law Firm North and Nilles Law Firm Orlando studios right now with my good friend Scott Taylor. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the Goose joins us. Australia professional hockey. We're going to learn a whole lot today, as you do each and every week on Game on Hockey, right, Scott?
Absolutely.
That's when you say absolutely. And with that, we'll take a quick break with Eric running the board, Scott Taylor sitting in Orlando, Florida, me sitting in Fargo, North Dakota. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday night. You are indeed listening to Game on Hockey on the mighty 790 KFGO.
Goose.
You are clear. Zoom call.
Australian might. Australian hockey. Who'd have thought we'd be doing that? But we are indeed doing so. Scott Taylor, Travis Dunn, the mighty 790 KFGO. Game on Hockey. Make it your appointment every Thursday at 5:30. This week, this segment brought to you by Ralph Engelstad Arena. By the way, this weekend, a big tilt. Western Michigan's in town. Friday is Kids Takeover Night. Tickets available both nights at Ticketmaster.com at the RAA box office, starting at just $29. It's a big weekend. Western Michigan comes to town. NCHC action is indeed in full run. And then, of course, the following week, the 20th and 21st, University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs come to town. It is Al Pearson Recognition Night. Al Pearson, the man in the white cowboy hat, has been struggling with some health issues. They're going to recognize Al for his contribution to UND hockey, all the bus trips that he organized, and all the people that got introduced to the great game of hockey with Al. And then, of course, Saturday, one more shift with Matt Green And he will then t-shirts are available in the Sioux shop. Of course, the Sioux shop where you can get all your gear, your hoodies. And I see Eric's wearing his Nodak shirt back, sweatshirt back there, hoodie. You can get those as well as UND basketball, football, all those fun things, as well as on SiouxShop.com. Tickets for next weekend's games are at the REA Ticketmaster or the REA box office, starting at $39. University of Minnesota Duluth comes to town, so back-to-back NCHC action. And with that, Scott, I'll let you carry the ball from here.
Now introducing from somewhere in the Caribbean this week. Is that right? You're in the Caribbean. It's Kerry Goulet, the new head coach and general manager of the Melbourne Ice of the Australia Ice Hockey League. Kerry, welcome to Game On Hockey.
It's game on, no question. Anytime I sit with you, Scotty, of course, and nice to meet you, Travis Dunn. I don't know how you do it, Travis, how you keep him focused, but I'll tell you what, I'm even worse. So let's have some fun.
Oh, let's have a blast with this. Go ahead, Scott. Let's fire away. Let's have some fun with this.
Okay, tell me a story. We got to the point where, as I was telling it, you were being asked as a bit of a consultant to find a coach in Melbourne, and then the conversation changed.
Yes. Well, the conversation changed because they couldn't find one, so I was the last pick on the totem pole. Basically, what happened is that I've been there, as you know, we've been doing the Ice Hockey Classic. You've helped me bring a couple of players down. Chris Dreger, one of them, of course, just an unbelievable character. I had the opportunity to bring Wayne Gretzky and obviously Brent Burns. And so I really became kind of a public figure there. People thought I knew, and did I pull the wool over their eyes, thought I knew what I was doing when I was putting this thing together. And I got to know all the general managers from all the clubs because we were actually doing work with teams, bringing Brent Burns on the ice to show the kids how to be a better defenseman, or Wayne Gretzky doing his talk with the adults and stuff. So as the pandemic went on, they were starting to lose the particular club I'm talking about, Melbourne Ice. They were starting to lose focus. Things were just not going right. They fell off the rails. They'd won the championship in 2010, 11, and 12, then back in 2017. And after 2017, things just unraveled. And last year, out of 30 games, they only had 13 points. So the management decided that they needed to clean house, and it came very quickly. Once they did that, they started to look for a Canadian coach again, because they were using a lot of Swedish. No disrespect to the Swedes, but it just didn't seem to jive with the type of players they had. So they asked me to look for a coach. There were a couple of candidates, one being Malcolm Sutherland, whom you know through our Shoot for a Cure campaign. He was right down to the wire, but unfortunately, it's a semi-pro league. There just was not enough money to entice him to take a sabbatical, go down there. It's a long flight, guys, if you don't already know it. And he decided that he just didn't want to take the risk. So just before I was flying to Germany to play in the outdoor game in December, they called me and said, "Hey, Gooch, what about you?" And I said, "Okay, what about me? What about you doing it?" I said, "Oh, great. After 9 people, I'm the 10th. You're now going to ask me." And it worked out tremendously in the fact that I was able to do a lot more than just be the coach. I'm going to be managing, helping develop the youth program. Obviously, I have assets over there with my Ice Hockey Classic. So it made a lot of sense coming out of the pandemic, being in the entertainment and event business. As we know where it is today, it's really still just at a startup stage. I have the opportunity to do more, leave a legacy. Even though I'm 63 and I had to scratch my head, I'm actually going to get paid. I'm going to get a paycheck. What's that all about? So it made a lot of sense for me. It ticked a lot of boxes. I get back to be passionate. As you know, Scotty, I got a little, and that's why I'm down here right now. If you don't mind me plugging Eric Matthews. They said, "Hey, before you go off on this new chapter of life, we'd like to have you come and enjoy a little bit of downtime." My downtime hasn't been that much of a downtime because Eric's had me traveling all across this great country. Of course, it's been nothing but spectacular. But now I'm focused and ready to go. And Eric's helping me pick a team while I'm down here in Beckway. And what better way to pick a team? Seriously, in the Caribbean, I'm picking a hockey team.
And when he says all that talking, it's 5 miles.
You've got to pick a hockey team in Australia.
Yes.
And I understand you are looking for North American players. And there are probably some UND grads who are on the edge of pro hockey who might be interested in an Australian future. Did we lose Kerry?
Yeah, there's no question.
There he is.
Obviously, my background.
Yeah, you're unfrozen now.
I heard the
You're
question.
frozen.
Are you ready for my answer?
Yes, you're good. Yeah, you were frozen. Solid.
Hey, listen, just the way I played. Hey, listen, obviously, thank you for that. And what's really transpired here is gave me an opportunity to use my experience while I was a player, coach, general manager in Germany. Obviously, I was lucky I had a guy named Mark McKay play with me who was just an absolute terror. I got to learn the profession of being a coach and a general manager while I was playing over there. And so I have the experience to be able to take a player from North America and transplant them into Germany, which is another language. So if I could do that, all I need to know is where to put the shrimp on the bobby and good day, mate. And I think I'm going to be okay. And one of the things I learned is you don't drink Foster down in Australia. So I learned that really quickly. So I'm going to be able to take players from North America and bring them into this landscape of ice hockey, which is very different than any other place on the world. Of course, Australia has some talent. We know Nathan Walker, who's in the St. Louis Blues organization. They do have an infrastructure, but yet they haven't taken it to the full advantage. So that's what my role is going to be. My role is to sell the game, engage the fans again, engage the obviously the sponsors, and work with the media, and then of course motivate players. So I tick all those boxes. My role is also to make sure I bring 4 outstanding athletes, people from either North America or Europe to come and play this great game of hockey. And I will be doing that now. And so, yes, of course, I have over 2 weeks to make some decisions, and I'd love to get some UND or, obviously it's an iconic organization, and it'd be great to have either from there, of course, from our hometown of Manitoba. I'm going through that process now. And of course, you guys can let them know to get a hold of me. And I certainly will look at every take, or everybody that will send in a resume. Travis, send it in. You never know. Dreams can come true at a later stage. And certainly I'm excited about all the young men that have already registered and have given me an opportunity to do my job here in, sitting on the dock of the bay. I've been making some decisions, and I'm excited about it. It's like a newfound life for me at 63. Great things can come at any time, and I've been blessed to have
a
this
little fountain of
opportunity
youth.
now.
You're listening to Game on Hockey in the Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM in Fargo, North Dakota. Scott Taylor, Travis Dunn, each and every Thursday. We're talking Australia, the opportunity to play hockey in Australia. Well, Goosh, tell us about the number of teams in the league. When does the season start? Obviously a lot of seasons are a little bit different in Europe. They start earlier and end a little earlier. What does it look like in Australia?
Well, great question. And it is exactly the opposite. As you know, the water spins a different way, so does their league. What's happening here is training camp starts February 15th. I'm flying down 28th to get to know the new environment. I've been to Melbourne, Australia 10 times. The league actually starts April 15th, and it runs through till September the 1st. Last year, through the pandemic, the WHA showed up in Australia by a bunch of players being dissatisfied with the way the AIHL, which is the Australian Ice Hockey League, were running their affairs through the COVID situation. So they did a breakout league. So there were 10 at the beginning of the year before. Then a new league called the Pacific Hockey League got formed. They took a couple of teams and then a bunch of players off, just like what happened with the WHA. So last year, they actually had 2 professional leagues. One had 7 teams in it. The other had 4. And it was really dysfunction. It broke everybody up. It broke the sponsors up. It broke the players up. Some of the iconic players from the Melbourne Ice left to go play for the Melbourne Ducks. And it just created a lot of confusion. As I signed, that league has now folded, and those players are now coming back to all the teams. So this year, there will be 10 teams. We're playing at a facility called the O'Brien Arena. It's probably the best arena. It's the Olympic Training Center for short track, speed skating, and figure skating. It's a 2-plex. It's state-of-the-art. It's got 2,500 fans. It has 2 teams playing out of it, the Melbourne Ice Mine and the Melbourne Mustangs. And then you have Sydney that has 2 teams, the Sydney Bears and the Ice Dogs. And then you have a really cool team. It's Perth Thunder, which is exactly 5 hours away from where I am. So it's going from Winnipeg to Vancouver. And then you got Adelaide, which is the wine country. It's a great organization. Brisbane, which is right out by the Gold Coast. And then you have Canberra, the capital. Newcastle, which is coached by one of my very good friends, Kevin Noble. Him and I are in different divisions. So he won Coach of the Year. So I said, listen, I'll let you win Coach of the Year. Let me win the Goodall Cup. And the Goodall Cup is a trophy that's the third oldest trophy in the world. A lot of people don't know that. Do your Google and find that out. And so I'm really blessed to have the opportunity to go up against these 10 teams with 2 divisions and be able to put together a team that may not win the Goodall Cup this year, but our goal from having 13 points is to get more than 14 and to actually make the playoffs. And when you make the playoffs, everything can happen. So that's basically kind of the history. A lot of great players from Winnipeg, Manitoba have gone down there. One of them being Scott Davidson, a very good friend of mine. Scotty, you know who he is, just a tremendous athlete. He helped create a very robust organization down there called TEG, who has helped us develop our ice hockey classic. And so I'm really excited to get down there and be a part of the Patriots. That are a lot of Canadians, a lot of Americans. And so it's going to be a lot of fun.
You're going down there, but you have a history down there already. And you talked about the Ice Hockey Classic. Yeah. The Ice Hockey Classic is there for a reason. Yeah. It's for Stop Concussions. Yes. Tell us about Stop Concussions and the history of that program and how it took you to Australia.
Well, obviously playing in Germany, you know that I had suffered a very severe concussion in 1988 that brought me home in 1989. When I was absolutely, totally devastated by this concussion because we didn't really know what it was. When I got home, I had an opportunity to meet guys like Eric and Brian. I specifically remember meeting Brian Content at a 7-Eleven and not being able to talk to him eye to eye. I was looking down. And Brian actually talked to my dad and said, hey, there's something wrong with Gooch. He's not the normal self. And a lot of the guys saw that. And so I went through this whole concussion issue. I went into Grace Hospital, a clinic there where they locked me up for a week and did all these tests because we didn't really know what a concussion was at that time. It was really at that time they were thinking I was suffering from depression, so they put me through a depression clinic. They put me on a drug called depresamine, which really numbed me. I got lucky. I got to fly back to Germany that summer, and I was a mess, guys. My dad flew over with me and basically babysat me for probably the first month and a half. I don't really recollect the whole time there. And then I threw away the drugs that they had me on, and I just got better and better and better. Suffered a couple other ones, but I was blessed that I could get through it. And what I lived through, the darkness, the suicidal thoughts, the anxiety, that living in a tunnel that with no light at the end of it, it gave me the opportunity to grow. And I educated myself on concussions. And when I came back to Canada, I met Keith Primo, and Keith Primo was part of the Shoot for a Cure Shoot for a Cure campaign, which was dealing with spinal cord injuries. And as you know, our team, the Grasshoppers, along with Eric and all the great teammates, we had a buddy, Ralph Velfor, who had broken his neck. And so we were taught about that. So what happened is through all that experience, I then developed Stop Concussion with Keith Primo. I walked him through his concussion injuries that actually ended his career. And we ended up starting Stop. And Stop has been, we wrote a book called Stop Concussions. Think about that. A guy that got to grade 12 by passing grade 6 twice without crayons, wrote a book called Concussed with Keith. And it became a Bible for players to understand you're not alone. We need to work on this. You can't suck it up anymore. As we were all instilled to play the game that we love, suck it up, play through the pain. If it ain't broke, you played. Well, yeah, it's a headache, take an aspirin. Well, we now learned that that's not the proper protocol. So that's what Stop Concussions basically became, this Bible for not the medical world. We had to teach the medical world that that's how we were trained. So we needed to de-train ourselves and understand if our brain's not right, we need to sit up.
Well, that explains it very, very well. We're gonna hold you over through this break, Goosh, and we'll kind of wrap things up as far as we still want to find out if the Goosh Live is going to be continuing as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
We'll get a chance to talk about that. We'll take a quick break. We got to pay some bills, but you're listening to Game on Hockey from the mighty 790 KFJO in Fargo with Scott Taylor, Travis Dunn. Our Thursday tilt around the hockey world with great guests, and we're talking hockey in Australia. We're talking about concussion protocol. We're talking about the importance of diagnosing and treating them the right way with Kerry Goulet. We'll be back after this break. You're listening to the mighty 790 KFJO. This is Game on Hockey.
That was great.
He's down there in Florida. Our other guest, Kerry Goulet, somewhere in the Bahamas or wherever the heck he is. I'm stuck in Fargo, North Dakota. We'll be here all winter. But I hope you're enjoying your Thursday night with Game on Hockey on the mighty 790 KFJO. Hey, we do this every week, and we hope you enjoy it. Tell your friends. Make this appointment radio. And with that, Scott, well, spring is not too far away. We still have to talk about the Golf Center.
Yeah, spring's coming. We're 3 months away exactly from opening day, baseball?
Oh, yeah. Baseball, that's right. Spring training starts in what, 6 weeks?
Yeah, not even that. I don't think. I think it's a month. But now that you brought your golf game indoors, it's winter time. So remember, the Golf Center has a complete line of golf simulators, hitting mats, nets, and training aids in stock to help make you a better player in the off season. Garmin R10, Bushnell Launch Pro, SkyTrack help you make your sweet swing. Keep it in its groove all winter long. The Golf Center also has a full inventory of bags, FootJoy golf shoes, the best golf balls on the market, and clothes to make you look great on the course. And don't forget, the demo day fitting day is January 14th. It runs from 12 noon to 4 p.m., features the new Callaway Paradigm. We're talking red hot golf clubs. Give Brian and the guys a call or stop by the Golf Center at 3001 South Columbia Road in Grand Forks, North Dakota, or call them at 701-775-0019.
As we wrap up our conversation.
Yeah. There he is.
Yeah.
Where's Beckway?
I'll tell you what, you're good. You could sell cars, I bet, too. Yeah, Beckway is off the coast of St. Vincent. It's owned by the St. Vincent, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I'll tell you what, I got to do a cheap plug here. I am staying with Eric Mathis, and he made me make sure you knew in 1985, guys, Winnipeg Grasshoppers were the first and only Manitoba team to win the Canadian Ball Hockey Championship. Goalie of the year, MVP. Oh my God, this is so much fun.
No surprise there whatsoever.
As the alcohol comes on, of course, you start talking silliness.
Well, as we wrap this whole situation up, we have Mike Svensson will be joining us here shortly. Another opportunity for players to look for another place to play. If you're not going to the NAHL, you're not looking at the USHL as opportunities. Where can I go to look for that college scholarship? And I know I wish Kerry Goulet would have found college hockey. You would have gone a heck of a lot further. The way you played the game, playing at Wisconsin or UND, you would have been a superstar, my friend.
Oh,
but in this last minute or so, you got a show called The Goosh Live.
yes.
Explain that and tell people how they can watch.
Well, through the pandemic, of course, the Hockey News gave me a shout and said, hey, listen, you know, Gooch, we don't want you to be analytical. We want you just to come and talk about hockey, give us perspectives when a guy's going for 50 goals. What does it mean? What's going through his mind when they're going through slumps? So they really had me just talk everything hockey. And of course, when you want to talk everything hockey, I had the opportunity to call Scott and get him to do a segment called Talking with Taylor, and just had Joe Pascucci, one of his buddies, and we just have so much fun talking the game, not from a perspective goals and analytical, you know, the power plays and the penalty killing, just getting in the mindset of the players. So Gooch Live was created to do that, just to talk everything. You could ask a question that maybe is not that normal question you'd ask, you know, a regular radio station, and we'd give the answers. We want it to be a little bit like splitting chiclets and telling stories, but of course, being with a very reputable firm like Game On, and of course, the Hockey News, we had to keep it down a little bit. So we tell stories and we talk to a bunch of great players around the world. And what's really good is that we bring the world of ice hockey, of hockey, to the public. Gooch Live is going to stay alive. We were doing 3 times a week. On Saturdays, we had Talking with Taylor, which is always an interesting story. They're building a studio in their merchandise store, and it will have the bottom line, the locker room presented by the Hockey News. And of course, Scott Taylor is going to be on that with Talking with Taylor. Travis, I'd love to get you on. We're going to be talking everything hockey. And one of the other great things is they're going to start up the Coach's Corner, which is really cool. They're going to have a host talk to me and ask me questions, how great the Melbourne Ice did that weekend and why we had so much success and why we're close to winning the good old cup. Or they will be talking about I'm packing my bags and coming home after 2 months because we went 0 for 7.
I tell you what, Scott, you know, this, I mean, people here have to realize it's on Minneapolis radio. You're based out of Toronto typically, and he's on Talking with Taylor on your show on Saturdays. I think we have to turn the tables to have the Goosh Live join us on a more regular basis to bring along a guest or two, talk hockey in Australia. Hey, we're expanding this thing, Scott. We need to get the Hockey News to be a sponsor of us because we do the same thing you do, only on a smaller scale.
Oh, no, gosh. I'm excited. Whatever you need from me, Scott's been great. I will always be there for him, and I know he's always been there for me. So listen, I got a 2-bedroom apartment. My wife doesn't know this, but I'm inviting everybody to come down and visit us. So guys, why don't you bring the show Game On down for a couple of weeks to Melbourne, Australia?
That's a long plane ride.
Yeah, maybe first class for me.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of takers, so you better book your time now, kid.
Hey, you know, Goosh, tell you what, it's been great having you on board, Kerry. There's so much to talk about, especially with the protocol for concussions. The growth of the game that way has been so much more impressive with the better equipment. Hey, you're not wearing those old Jofas that were paper thin anymore, are they? The equipment's better, everything's better. And you know what? The world's a better hockey world with you in it. We sure appreciate you joining us on a Thursday night where in the warmth where you are. We're going to carry on our show, tell people where the best place to go play hockey. We'll tell you what, we'll have you on again, and I would love to join you on one of your episodes somewhere down the line as well.
We will do that, and of course, here in Beckway, I'm staying at a place called Coco Villa. You've got to check it out. Come down and enjoy it. And of course, we're going to have Game On my first show. Scotty will organize that in Melbourne, Australia.
That'd be awesome. With that, take care, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. That's Kerry Goulet, the great Kerry Goulet, talking Australian hockey. With that, we close his gate and we open Mike Svensson's gate. Mike, are you there?
There he is.
How are you? There he is. Scott, go right ahead. You can do the introduction.
Great. Mike Svensson, a gentleman that I've known now for, I think 3 months, and it's already a wonderful relationship. The president chief cook and bottle washer, janitor, a bench keeping warm, looking after the coaches and the volunteers, and doing just about all of the dirty work of the Dryden GM Ice Dogs in the Superior International Junior Hockey League. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. And the thing I want to talk to you about most is the SIJHL and the opportunities for players from everywhere to play in a league that a lot of people don't know a lot about.
Sounds good. I can talk about that.
Tell us about the league, the number of teams, where they're from. I know you get U.S. players all the time, and you've got 5 Manitobans in your roster right now. But
yeah,
it's a league that does recruit from wherever it can recruit from.
Yeah. So in my time, we've had players from the east and west coasts of Canada. Of course, like you mentioned, we've always done well in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Surprisingly, we do better in those provinces than we do in Ontario. And in the United States, from California, Florida, all over the place. It's and like we talked about last week, Scott, and I read it again. You grabbed that quote in the most recent article you wrote, and the more I think about it, it's a good one. It's that it's word of mouth. So we tend to have a kind of a cyclical success depending on where our current players are from, because the best that we have at this point, being the junior league on the CJHL circuit, but junior, 25 years we've been around now, so we're starting to get a foothold. But the best recruitment tool we have is when players go back to their towns and talk about their time in our league and tell their friends and their other players what it's like in the SI.
You have teams from Thunder Bay through where, Fort Francis? What's the 17 league now?
Yes, it is.
And you have had teams in the United States and Wisconsin, am I right?
Yeah, we've had several teams in the United States. There's haven't had long tenures so far. We haven't. The current one is in Wisconsin. We've had teams in Minnesota. Most recently, there was one in Thief River Falls, right?
Yep, the Norskies.
Yep, the Norskies, yes, sir. Yeah. And that's a great market that I think that we need to get back into, and I'd love to. We've had talks with potential suitors there that it just hasn't worked yet. It's a great market, as you know. That arena it was the best arena in our league, and it will be the best arena in whose ever league outside of the National Hockey League that grabs it.
You've been with this team for quite a while now. Tell us about the Dryden Ice Dogs. Tell us about the your mandate, your motto, your credo, because you send more kids to Division III schools than anybody else I know.
Yeah. Well, we have so it's the grassroots policies and philosophy. The way we run our organization is we just try to treat our staff and our players with respect, and we try to have I'm always trying to pump the tires of the volunteers that work for our club and the players as well. We try to build each other up, right? So we recruit hard in the grassroots level and push players and volunteers on to the next level if they wish to continue on, and that's been a success for us. So essentially, it's gotten to the point where when players graduate from our program, if they don't want to play D3, if they don't get a D3 offer, it's because they don't want one. In the last several years, the players that we've moved on, we have hard practices. We have a hard gym regimen. We are serious about winning. And so when these players get to the next level, frequently what they communicate back to us is that they're over prepared relative to their new teammates. So that makes me proud of our product and of our league. And, we're seeing players leave those D3 ranks and go on to the professional level too. So it's a nice thing to watch.
Tell me about your toughest rivalry. Tell me about the rinks you play in, and tell me about the fact that this is a Northwestern Ontario bus league that is going to provide you with some of the best preparation for the next level that you're ever going to see.
Okay, so I think that the scouting report on our team is that we will finish our checks. and that we play tough-nosed, hard-nosed hockey. And so therefore, whether that's exaggerated or real or somewhere in between, that is the story on our team. And therefore, our toughest rivalry tends to be everybody. So they've got us circled on their calendar, and their hardest game of the week will be us. But we've had historic rivalries with the teams in Thunder Bay and the more closer to the more rural teams in our neck of the woods. But we have our longest bus ride used to be the Norskies. Now it would be down Winter, Wisconsin, about a six-hour jaunt. But we have teams within an hour and a half, and we have teams that we see in 3-hour rides. But the other thing that breeds rivalries is being successful, and so we've won a lot of games in the last 10 years, and we do create intense rivalries along the way that way. Also, the size of the league, right? When you have 7 teams, you've seen each other a lot, and that keeps temperatures up as well. So
if someone's looking to get in touch with you, is there a website? Is there an email? If someone's looking for that opportunity, they're looking for the next step, how do they get in touch with you?
You know what? I would start at our Facebook page, our social media, our Instagram, our Dryden GM Ice Dogs Facebook. Our social media guy is a wizard at what he does. To go there, there's links to our website, there's links to our Twitter, there's links to our Instagram. And we're very, very busy on social media. You get game action, you get volunteer breakdowns, you'll get
beautiful
information community, and presently he's rolling out player bios every day, post trade deadline, right? Letting everybody know who the current roster is.
Okay.
So that's a good place.
Sounds like a plan, and that's what Scott and I try to do each and every week, is also introduce, like I say, whether it's Australian hockey, right? The opportunities in Australia, the leagues everywhere. We try to introduce opportunities because there's only so many seats and so many rinks. And you know what? Looking for a team, hopefully you'll be able to make some impact that way. We sure appreciate you joining us on a Thursday night. Good luck the rest of the way with your team, and hope the weather stays good for traveling in those bus rides across northwestern Ontario.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
And again, Scott, that's one thing we get to do every week, right? Try to introduce opportunities and open people's minds up that, there are opportunities to get on a bench somewhere, learn the game from a good coach like Mike Svensson.
There's a story of a kid named Max Collette. Max Collette was a pretty good player in the junior B league in Manitoba. But he was about 5'0" and 80 pounds. He was just a little guy who could score goals. Got a little bit bigger, went and played for the Dryden GM Ice Dogs. And in his 2 years there, grew to be about 5'8.5", 165 pounds. And now he's in his second year of Division III college in Wisconsin. Loves it, loves the league, loves his opportunity. And the Division III situation ain't Division I. You're not playing at UND, but you are getting an education while you play hockey. And that's what so many kids are asking for wherever they're from. And especially that, I don't like to say second tier, but the guys that aren't in demand the day they graduate high school. The guys that haven't committed to USHL team or the UND Fighting Hawks or UMD or Bemidji State. There are guys in that area. We've talked about Nick Mikan all year, who finally got to St. Thomas after a year with the Steinbach Pistons. There are roads less traveled that you can take to reach your hockey dreams. You don't have to quit when your junior career is over. There are other routes to go. And that's the one thing we really want to get through to kids here, is that you want to quit on your own terms. If you've had enough after junior, I get it. Junior can be a tough grind, but if you still love the game and still want to play, you should have that opportunity. And I'd like to give those kids that opportunity.
Yeah, I tell you what, you love the game. I love the game. It's been great to both of us. And what we're going to do is carry this conversation on each and every Thursday. I hope you continue to join us each and every Thursday. This is Game On with Travis Dunn and Scott Taylor on the Mighty 790. We'll take a quick break. We come back. Well, our Pilot Mound Hockey Academy conversation with the usual guests, because they're so busy that Mr. Tummelson has been kind of a regular guest for us. We'll talk about that We'll be back after this break. You're listening to Game on Hockey with Scott Taylor and Travis Dunn on a Thursday night on the mighty 790 KFGO.
Night. Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bump and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game.
Or the good old hockey radio show called Game on Hockey every Thursday. Scott Taylor, take it away.
Stompin' Tom Connors, it feels like 1971 in the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto, Ontario. Stompin' Tom singing the hockey song and My Hockey Mum and Bud the Spud and oh man, Stompin' Tom. Canada's voice. It's the middle of the hockey season. That means Jarrell's Hockey World is the place for everything you need when it comes to the greatest game on ice. Jarrell's has knit beanies, mini sticks, the best hockey sticks in the game, all the best protective equipment bags, even nets for road hockey or your backyard rink. And Jarrell's has Bauer and CCM clothing, skate guards, laces, tape, wax, pucks, even stick handling balls. In business for 50 years, Jarrell's, man, it's the 2021 U.S. Bauer Retailer of the Year right here in our backyard. Jarrell's Hockey World, 1004 South Washington Street in Grand Forks. Call 701-775-0553 and at us at Jarrell's Hockey.
And they have a complete stock of stuff too, by the way. They have a complete stock. Lots, we talk about issues of getting product. They have it all. Go ahead, Scott.
Gordy Tomlinson's back.
Yeah.
Gordy Tomlinson remembers Stompin' Tom because Gordy, like the rest of us, is not a young guy. You were the goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets in 1972. Is that right?
That's correct.
How many games did you play that year?
I only played in 2. I was the third guy. I was the farm team.
You were the
yeah, the whole. Well, there was Brian Cadle and was there and Duke and Mike Ford, but we were kind of the farm team. They didn't have any farm teams because it's a brand new league, so we were it. If somebody got hurt, we went in. I played in 2 games, but I also dressed in I think about 15. Joe Daly broke his thumb in Boston. And I joined the team in Ottawa and did some other things there, for a couple of months while he got better.
Well, there are more stories than could possibly be told in the world of hockey. And you're telling one right now. You have a brand new general manager at Pilot Mound Hockey Academy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this lady is wonderful. Nicole Collins is her name. She's a human resources manager at Athabasca University in Northern Alberta. She's had some RCMP work. She's got a couple of degrees. from the University of Manitoba. She was a star hockey player in Manitoba, women's hockey for probably 7 or 8 years, played at the University of Manitoba Bisons, and is the sister to Delaney, and who's a world champion, and they were competitive as heck as they grew up. But she's a business person and a hockey person. So when you combine those two people, I like to think I'm those two people as well, but she certainly is. When you've got those two people together, she's perfect material for general manager.
And there are plenty of opportunities to play. You're out recruiting already for the 23-24 season. You've got to fill 4 teams out there, so there's lots of chances for kids to play.
Absolutely. We're looking for players all the time. We're hoping for AAA kids or people that think at least they're close to AAA. We love to see them. We've got some ID camps coming up in April. Look for that information on our website. And we've got we're going to have scouts and people talking to people. It's going to be a really busy next 6 months for us in the recruitment end.
And you talk about how busy you're on a regular basis because your teams are all over the place playing. Where are they right now?
Got a team in Wilcox, Saskatchewan. It's Notre Dame. Got a team in that's a U18 boys. The girls are in Medicine Hat, and we've got 2 teams in Calgary, the U17s, U15s.
And then on Saturday morning, we're going to be talking, Scott, we invited Gordy to put together a little group for us for Saturday morning as well. So we'll be talking to Delaney as well as Nicole and me. I'm not sure about our capabilities on 740 The Fan, so we will talk, somewhere in between, Gord. So we'll figure this whole thing out. So there we have it. Busy times at Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, new general manager. And if that Collins name is something you've heard of this place called Shattuck St. Mary's. There's a significant connection. Her dad, or Mr. Collins, basically helped put that place together. So there's a lot going on in Pilot Mountain that pretty much are very comparable to the great Shattuck St. Mary's. Gordy Tummelson, thanks for joining us on a Thursday night, a busy Thursday night indeed. And Scott, between Gordy, Mr. Svensson talking about the playing hockey in Western Ontario, and the great Kerry Goulet. Another fun night of talking hockey on Game On.
Talking hockey is always fun, and throughout the whole thing, I've had. I love the NHL Network. I'm falling in love with it.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
They've got Ice Pass on now. We're getting highlights from every single game. It's just fun to watch.
Fun to watch. You got places to go. Watch that hockey game. Enjoy Florida. You're back in Winnipeg next weekend.
Nope, week after.
Whoa, boy, long stretch. I wish I was there with you. Well, with that, we will bid you adieu. For Gord Tummelson, for Scott Taylor, for Travis Dunn, for Eric Johnson. This has been Game On Hockey in the Mighty 790 KFGO. We'll be back next Thursday. Bye for now.